welcome to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler. I am the aforementioned Spooky Chris. This is my bite-sized podcast. I try to keep it bite-sized, talking about all things weird and strange, literary and film. You can find all of my podcasts and all of my blogs and links to my books at spookychris.com, and find out all you want to know about me. All my books are available on Amazon as well. So it's strange as we celebrate the unfortunate anniversary of COVID in the United States. And it's strange to look back and say it's been a year. I think most of us that have been through this would claim it's been so much longer. An unending nightmare that just keeps stretching forward as we lose people we love one way or another, either to death or to ignorance. And it's hard to put into words how surreal it all is. I remember, at this time where I work, they started letting folks work home if they were able to work home, from home. And then suddenly, our office became kind of a skeleton crew, a ghost ship, as what I always call it, when we have these kind of holidays and such. It's kind of a ghost ship. And with my position, I still had to remain there, but most of the staff were began working from home around now. I remember distinctly. It's interesting. It's interesting how much of life is affected by all of this. My wife and I began the IVF process on Friday, May 13th, the day I actually released a book. I wanted it to coincide with, in case the IVF was successful. I wanted to kind of to denote that, and it was the release of a book that I really loved. My Tattered Tent book about the fair, kind of a creepy fair. And I remember I had gotten us tickets to a show for, I can't remember if it was a late Valentine's or early anniversary, I forget, but it was Carmina Burana, something my wife loves, down in Detroit. It was, I got tickets for that, so we were going to do that. I got us a hotel room, and, we were going to go out to eat and just kind of make a whole night of it. And that was Friday the 13th of 2020. And I remember it was very strange because things were starting to, it was you could tell the talk was that, states were going to start shutting down and things were going to start changing. And people were starting to take COVID-19 seriously, finally. And we went out, we went and did the initial IVF procedure, and we went out that evening to, they canceled the show. They postponed it and then finally canceled it eventually. But we couldn't do that. But we figured we'd still go out to get something to eat, and we had the hotel room stuff. We don't really go out. We don't vacation really. So we went out to eat, and it was strange because that was the last time we ate in public, ate out at a restaurant. And it was weird because, it was still moderately busy. It's a Brazilian steakhouse in Detroit. And it felt weird being around that many people. We still kind of kept our distance because nobody really knew a whole lot about COVID at the time. But it was strange being out like that because you just didn't feel safe. uh, and there was some kind of a wedding party at the hotel we were at, and so lots of loud people just kind of having fun and partying, and it was weird because the Monday was when they really kind of did the IVF treatment in full, and kind of when things got going for us. But I remember because it was, I think, the next day, the Tuesday, that our office went remote. That Monday or Tuesday, I think to Tuesday, but we went remote. And so we have been working remote for about a year now. And we kept, we'd check in periodically. Okay, we're just going to see what happens, and then suddenly the realization's like, well, we need to make the place safe, and for when we return, if we return. And I remember that day, the day, it was the day of, I heard through the grapevine that they were going to lock Michigan down, and I went to the store. Gosh, it was funny. I got there just around noon, so right around when our governor was announcing the lockdown, and shopped and loaded up on paper towel and toilet paper and food, and got all this stuff and water, and not anticipating things would get nutty, knowing that people would react out of fear and it would be kind of crazy, but not imagining how things would go. I didn't go to and I don't know. My wife, I think, been to the grocery store twice with me, and maybe 3 times in the last year, because she has health concerns. When she became pregnant, we were being very, very cautious with all of that. And it's strange. I remember the first time going back to it's about a month and a half. I went back to the store, and couldn't find toilet paper, couldn't find paper towel, meat was out, all of these things, water was gone. It was so weird. In Flint, I'm in Flint, Michigan. I would get in line periodically to get free water because we had the water issue, the water crisis. And so water has become, we've all become a little more conscious here about water and water consumption and all of that. And we still don't trust the Flint water system. So it was weird because, water was gone. You could get jugs, a few, but there was a sense of fear and in yourself and in others, and the sense of dread because we didn't know what was happening, and it was so scary and still scary. But those initial weeks, I remember how excited I was when I overheard at a nearby Rite Aid when they got their toilet paper shipments. The woman that works there was tipping someone off, well, just so you know, if you want to get some toilet paper, we get them, blah, 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 this is the date. And so I would get up early, and she said, you'll want to get here early because they sell out. I would get up early and run over there and grab toilet paper, every couple weeks, whatever. And it was just weird. It's so weird because we adapt. We all adapt so naturally to things. You don't have, because you have a choice. It's survival instinct, and we've all learned to do that. It's strange to think that it's been a year since I've seen some of my friends. I am part of an events organization. We haven't done a live event in a year and a half almost, since December of 2019. I put 2 books out. I put 3 books out because one was at the late 2019. But I put 2 books out during this and haven't been able to go in person and support these, so they don't sell. I'm a nobody kind of author, and nobody knows who I am. And while I'd love to think my books are riveting and my stories are fascinating, etc., unless you can see it in person and read a book jacket and see I'm an actual person, you're not going to find it on an Amazon shelf. You're not going to find. I'm not in bookstores. So it's strange. I didn't see my dad and sister for a while. I try to see them now, distanced and with masks, every week or every other week. We didn't see my brother-in-law, either of my brother-in-laws, for months. My wife went through a whole pregnancy without being able to share it with people directly. We had to do virtual showers. Everything she went through, because she had a hard pregnancy that affected her health, and she ended up having the baby a month early, and then was in the hospital again. All of that she couldn't directly share it with her friends. Like, she couldn't lean on them. We couldn't have them over to celebrate the baby. We couldn't have them over to kind of commiserate. We couldn't do any of that. And I mean, I haven't lost anyone to. And saying the world is different is, it's one thing, but knowing it's different is another. Knowing that we haven't seen movies. We haven't, like, any normalcy is gone. We haven't gone out to see movies. We haven't gone out to eat at a restaurant. We haven't gone on a vacation. We haven't gone out really. It's strange. It's strange. I was in downtown Flint the other day, and it was strange to see the streets empty in such nice warm weather, unseasonably warm weather. And it's like we're all dreaming and we're waiting to wake up, and we're desperate to wake up. And it feels like slowly but surely we are starting to, very, very slowly, very, very, very slowly. But it'll still take time. I mean, I don't know if there is normalcy. It's funny, after 9/11, there were they kept saying, "Oh, it's the death of irony," because how can you tell ironic jokes, and jokes about, like, planes and explosions and bombing, all of these things, because it happened. So now you just kind of look like, and I don't know. And the world returned. I mean, it's funny because we were all together then, and everyone, holding hands, and it was like that at the beginning of the pandemic. And now, we're torn apart by politicians and greed and selfishness and just insanity. The selfishness of humans is crazy, and that's one of those sad things. Is that for all we've lost, the things we've gained are hard to even see. Like, some of us have learned about ourselves and our families and the strength of our will and all of these things. But most of us have learned a very sad lesson about how petty and selfish some of us are. People who want to march without masks and demand that they can go to the gym and just have no sense of decency, really, or self, no sense of the moment. It's kind of like being at a funeral and crying out, "What about me?" because you're not getting attention. It's strange, and like I say, we're in this still. We're still knee deep, but it seems like there could be at least a path forward. Finally, it's not a perfect path, and it's not going to be easy, but it's a path forward, and it's something we haven't seen. We had a president that denied this was a problem, denied everything about it until he had it, and then it was suddenly like, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Everybody can get through this. So I still don't think people take it completely seriously. You still find people who won't wear masks and who insist it's just the flu. And it's kind of like, what more proof do you need? What more do you need to prove to you that this is real, that this matters? But I guess the lesson we've learned, those of us that are willing to learn, is that we adapt and we survive, and we've learned how to connect to people still in ways that are unique and strange and don't feel natural, but which still connect us to them. We found ways to struggle forward, and we've lost so many people, not even just to the disease, but to the side effects, the mental anguish. And it's one of those things, like, I think it will take time for us to realize, and when this is quote unquote over, it will be kind of a roaring 20s. Like, there'll be probably a population boom. There's going to be like all kinds of concerts and movies and craziness and people being nutty. But it'll take time for us to remember and to realize how bad it was. But what matters most is that we've survived, that we've found each other, and that we found ways to struggle forward. A lot of people were idiots. A lot of people have been selfish monsters. And it'll be funny because they'll still be celebrating like, man, I sacrificed so much and here I am. Woo! I'm first at the bar. But those of us that really sacrifice, those that lost people, that made the true sacrifice, or lost their own lives because they were on the front lines, will understand. They'll understand that this isn't just history we have been in, but that this is just something that should change not just the person, but not the culture, but the whole race of humans. But time will tell. I hope you are safe, my friend, and that you have survived this in whatever way you need it and can move forward. As always, I'm Spooky Chris. You can find all my stuff at spookychris.com. Take care.